I just want to share a portion of scripture here from Second Kings chapter 6. Second Kings chapter 6, verses 8. You know, it's a very interesting chapter in a whole, but there is something that caught my attention, and it's concerning, you know, sight. So I'm talking here about blindness, spiritual blindness. All right. So it reads from this is Second Kings chapter 6, verses 8. It says, now the king of Syria was making war against Israel, and he consulted with his servants, saying, my camp will be in such and such place. And the man of God sent to the king of Israel, saying, beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are coming down there. This the man of God here is Elisha, right? Elisha is saying to the king of Israel, for the Assyrians are coming down there. Then the king of Israel sent someone to the place of which the man of God had told him. Thus he warned him, and he was watchful there, not just once or twice. Right? Therefore, the heart of the king of Syria was greatly troubled by this thing, and he called his servants and said to them, will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? So he called his servants and he's asking them, which one of you really supporting the king of Israel? Because he's saying, how you want to know how the king of Israel know that he said that he's going down into such and such place, right? And it says, and one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, who is in Israel. Tell the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom. So he said, go and see where he is, that I may send and get him. And it was told him, saying, surely he is in Dothan. Therefore he sent horses and chariots and a great army there, and they came by night and surrounded the city. Right? So the king of a sent army out to get Elisha, because he told the king of Israel his plans, where he's going to be. So now he wants to get Elisha. The man of God arose early and went out there and went out. There was an army surrounding the city with horses and chariots. And his servant said to him, alas, my master, what shall we do? So he answered, do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. In some translations, it says, against us. Those that are against us, those are with us are more than those are against us. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. Then the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. So when the Syrian came down to him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, strike this people, I pray, with blindness. And he struck them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. So the army, the Syrian army, came down to attack Elisha. And Elisha prayed and asked that God may strike them with blindness. Now Elisha said to them, right after they were struck with blindness, Elisha said to them, now, Elisha, this is not the way, nor is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Samaria. After they got blind, Elisha now is leading them in a different direction. He's saying, come, let me show you the man, right? And as he was taking them, he lead them away from himself. Now he's the man they came to get, but they can't see because God struck them with blindness. So Elisha is taking them away into another city, which is Samaria. So it was when they had come to Samaria that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw. And there they were inside Samaria. Now, when the king of Israel saw them, he said to Elisha, my father, shall I kill them? Shall I kill them? Right? This is what the king of Israel now is asking Elisha, now that the enemy is in our hands, shall I kill them? Then what was Elisha's response? He said, right? But he answered, you shall not kill them. Would you kill those whom you have taken captive with your sword and your bow? Set food and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. Then he prepared a great feast for them, and after they ate and drank, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syrian raiders came no more into the land of Israel. This is there's a couple of things that is playing out here. Blindness, there was blindness in the eyes of the servant of Elisha, who failed to see that those that was with them were more than those that was against them. That was blindness number one. Then God tell him to, Elisha sent him back to look again, and he was able to see clearly that those who was with were more than those who was against. All right. So his eyes was open spiritually. Now, blindness come in different from this. People who are physically blind and people who are spiritually, and the spiritual blindness is a serious thing, right? With physical blindness, you can still see spiritually, right? The physical blindness, you being blind physically, you might still be able to see spiritually if you so desire. But when you're spiritually blind, you're done, right? You can't even see the physical things nor the spiritual thing, because the thing is, when your eyes are open spiritually, now you can see the things of the spirit, and you can see the things, right, that is before you, the obstacles that is before you. Elisha asked that God may blind his enemies. And when God blinded them, what he did, he was able to lead them away from himself. They go looking for Elisha, but they couldn't find Elisha because they were stricken blind. There's another thing that is coming out of that. And I love the entire chapter. I'm prompted to read the chapter fully, but it's not until I be able to make certain points, if I get the chance, because time is up against me presently. But the next thing is coming out here. When we trust God, God comes true for us miraculously, and in every way, God comes true for us. Here we see the Syrian king seeking after Elisha that he may destroy him. But God here is telling him, right? Elisha now trusts God because Elisha is a prophet. We might have heard the story of Elijah who went to heaven in a chariot of fire. Elisha is the servant, or was the servant of Elijah. So Elijah passed the mantle on to Elisha. So now Elisha is a prophet. To set a little understanding here about Second Kings, First and Second Kings is the book that tells about the kings who rose up and who disappoint God miserably. It talks about the falls of the downfalls of the kings, right? And the prophet, we have to understand the prophets. Prophets there in the time, in those days, was the man who would let the kings or the people know, the kings and along with the people know what to do. Now, if the king want to go to war and he consult with the prophet consult with God, God is going to say whether to say yes to go to war or no, right? So the Bible back then was made up of prophet, priests, and kings. The priests minister on behalf of the people, and the prophet tell the people, especially the king, when to do, what not to do, how to do it, where to do it, right? So that was the work of the king, of the prophet. So we see here Elisha being a man of God, trusting God, dependent upon God for everything. When they came for him, he said he asked God to blind them. God blinding them. Now he can do as he wants with them. So what he did, he lead them, right, to the king of Israel. The king of Israel now is asking the man of God, which is the Elisha, what should we do? Shall we kill them? Right? And he was eager. He asked twice, should we kill them? Shall I kill them? Shall I kill them? And the man of God said, no. You're going to kill the people that God surrender into your hands? They're helpless now. No, you're not going to kill them. But what we're going to do, we're going to set a feast up for them. Feed them, give them water and everything, and send them back to their master. Right? So when they go back to the master, they're going to tell the story that took place. They're going to say what happened. Right? And like I said, I'm anxious to read more. I want to finish chapter 6 because it's very interesting. There was a situation going on whereby, because of the captivity and the war that was going on in Israel, because Israel was divided into two kingdoms, right? It was divided in the northern and the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was ruled by Judah, right? And there was a famine. This is the next thing that when we trust God, God comes true for us. And when things is going on among us, like we have situation going on among us today, we have a pandemic, a global pandemic. We have wars and rumors of wars. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that is going on. And the Bible said there is nothing new under the sun, nothing, right? And one such story is going to help help us to understand that there is nothing new under the sun. And we're going to go now to verse 24, right? And it says here, and it happened after this that Benadad, king of Syria, gathered all his army and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria. And indeed, they besieged it until a donkey head was sold for 80 shekels of silver. 80 shekels of silver. There was such a famine going on in the land that the head of a jackass or the head of an ass or a donkey, whatever you call it, was sold for 80 pieces of shekels. We have to understand what that meant. A shekel was 32 cents. 80 shekels would have wound up, by my calculation, to $25.47. Now, $25.47 way back there this was like 900 BC, right? 8 to 900 BC. $25. That's a lot of money, right? You go to the market, you don't pay no $25. $25 in meat is a lot, right? So that is what they had to pay. And a cob of dove dung or dove drop-ins for 5 shekels, which would have been like $1.60. This is dove dung. And it was probably used for two things. Probably used for lighting a fire, or going to be using it for salt. This is how bad it was, right? So if we think things bad today, we need to think again. And it's the only time things have gotten this bad, we need to think again. Things have been bad time before, time and time again, and God sees people through, right? So it says in verses 26, then as the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried out to him, saying, help, my Lord, O king. And he said, if the Lord does not help you, where can I find help for you? Right? He's saying, help? If God can't help you, how could I help you? And today we have kings and presidents and all these people. We are looking to them for help. And they're saying in other words, because they're not that bold to come and say, if God can help you, how I'm going to help you, right? So again, here we're learning as we go these lessons. She now is looking to man, and this man has power. He's the king. She said, Lord, help me, king. The king said, if God can help you, how I'm going to help you? But it continued. He said, from the threshing, he said here, from the threshing floor, or from the wine press. He's asking her, should I help you from the threshing floor or the wine press? Then the king said to her, what is troubling you? And she answered, this woman said to me, give me your son, that we may heat him today, and we will heat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son and ate him. And I said to her the next day, give me your son, that we may heat him. But she has hidden our son. The woman is complaining. Things were so bad that a woman approached her and said, let's boil your son, cook your son today. And tomorrow you're going to cook my son. And the woman said, yes, she agreed. And when the next day come, The woman asks her, so what happened to your son? But she can't find her son because she hid her son. We eat your son today, but you ain't eating my son tomorrow. I fool you, joke on you. So the woman is complaining to the king. Now it happened when the king heard the words of the woman that he tore his clothes, and as he passed by on the wall, the people looked, and there underneath he had sackcloth on his body. Then he said, God do so to me, and more also, if the head of Elijah, the son of Shaphat, remains on him today. If the king is saying, I'm going to get Elisha, right? God going to do to me as he do to you. If I don't get Elisha, I got to get his head. I'm going to take the head of Elisha off, right? So we're reading here in 2 Kings chapter 6, right? And now at verse 32. But Elisha was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him, and the king sent a man ahead of him. But before the messenger came to him, he said to the elder, do you see how this son of a murderer has sent someone to take away my head? This is Elisha saying to his servants while they're sitting at the table. He said, you see this son of a murderer, right? Right? The king sent, out of that, the king, he's sending someone to take my head off, right? How we know that? God communicating with him. God is telling him, right? And it says here, look, then, the messenger comes, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? And while he was still talking with them, there was the messenger coming down to him. And then the king said, surely this calamity is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer? That ends the reading of chapter 6. The king sent his messenger. The king sent a man to Elisha because he wants Elisha's head. And sure as he did that, God told Elisha what is happening, right? And he met with Elisha. So I'm going to end there and going to conclude the story there. But my thing is this. We have to trust God where we cannot trace him. And we have to trust him wholeheartedly. In this time, we should have been trusting him in times past. But at least we know now that we have no control over any situation, but only God. So now that we know that, we need to trust him now, wholeheartedly, because it's only by him and through him we will obtain salvation. We're going to obtain peace. We're going to obtain food, clothing, shelter, and God is going to keep us, even though 10,000 falls around us. On our left, on our right, regardless of how many fall, we shall stand by his grace if we trust him. Right? So the message here is to trust God and to let the scales of blindness be removed from our eyes, that we may see him as he is and be hidden in him. Just like Paul in the book of Acts chapter 22, right? Acts chapter 9 verses 1 through 22, I think, and Acts chapter 22 from verses 6, where Paul, whose name was changed from Saul to Paul, received his conversion. He was stricken by God on his way to Damascus to persecute the children of God, who was at that time, the worshiping God, and he was doing this in the name of God, believed that he was doing the right thing until God struck him with a light, bright light from heaven, and he fell. And as he fell, he asked God if it was God, and God said, "Yes, you're persecuting me and my people by persecuting my people." And God blinded him, but eventually he sent him to a place, right? He sent him to a place where he can receive healing and the scales falling from his eyes. This is just wrapping the story up in a nutshell. And he was able to see. And then God used him by sending him after then to his people to minister to the Gentiles. And as he go forward, people was even afraid of him because they said, "This is not the man who kills God's people," right? But he had to convince them that he's changed because the scales has been removed. He now can see. Sometimes God blind us so that we can see when he do open up our eyes the trueness of him. All right, so I'm gonna bring the story, bring the curtain down here. I trust that I hope that I'm sorry that I didn't have any more time, but because of my what you call it, my technical ignorance, that is why I only started now. But I plan to continue this and stay tuned. And next time we meet, next time, I don't know when, but at least by the grace of God, next Saturday afternoon, right? I might set a time, let's say 4 o'clock. I want to be on it. All right. But thank you guys, the few of you who came on to listen, and may you share this, that somebody be blessed. And I'm going to ask that God continue to be with us and continue to shed his light upon us and through us, and grant us wisdom that we may be able to make choices, that we may be able to choose who we want to serve, and to choose him, to make the choice to choose him, and to walk the walk, talk the talk. And I'm going to pray for you guys, and you pray for me, that we all continue to walk, so that when the roll is called up yonder, we all will be there. Thank you very much, and may God continue to bless us all as we continue to serve him in spirit and in truth. You know, um, may God continue to bless us. All right. So thank you very much. And I'm going to see you guys on the next time. All right. God bless. Love you all. Thank you for coming on. And may God bless you.